what Kevin just reported there. They've used the emergency status to enable them to implement a whole range of policies. Your colleagues believe this is, at best, well, you give it to us. Is it an illegal maneuver? Is it a sneaky maneuver? What do you think?
I think they're just saying whatever they need to say at any point to get what they want out of the situation, so they constantly contradict themselves. You can look at the military right now. If the pandemic is really over, well, let's pay the 60,000 plus National Guardsmen who aren't getting paid because they refused the vaccine. How about the 850 teachers that just got let go this week in New York City? They need to decide what it is. For you and I, for America, the pandemic phase of this is over. The CDC has said we're at herd immunity, and the White House just needs to get with the program, get rid of the vaccine mandates, and let's move forward.
To that end, sir, you say that vaccine mandates for American service members are harming national security.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Far more than the COVID virus did. I mean, if you look at the age group of the people who are in the military, the risk to COVID and what that impact would be on the force's readiness, the worst thing for Army readiness has been the vaccine mandate, because so many guys and gals aren't getting the vaccine, and they're basically kicking them out of the military. I had a young guy reach out to me yesterday that the Army's demanding that he pay back his enlistment bonus because they kicked him out because he wouldn't take the vaccine. It's just absurd what they're doing, and therefore Army recruiting is at 52% of its goal this year. I mean, think about that. They came to us this year and said, we want a smaller Army next year. Why? Because they can't recruit to fill the units. No, these young people don't want a vaccine for a virus that does very little to their patient population. So it's really quite absurd what the President and the Department of Defense is demanding, and the impact on readiness, 60,000 National Guardsmen all at once out of the force, is insane.
To your point, sir, about recruitment, it's a major public debacle for the military, all four branches, as well, by the way, as some problems in the intelligence community. But over the last year, recruitment's way down. I spoke to a national security source at the White House last week who said this mirrors the economy, essentially making the argument recruitment is down because it always follows that recruitment goes down when the economy is hurting. Does that make sense to you?
No, it doesn't. I mean, I understand if unemployment is down and there's lots of opportunity, rising wages, then that becomes a competitor to recruiting in the military, but that's not the case. What we've seen since Biden's been in presidency is a decrease in wages. Wages are actually falling in America where they were rising in the previous administration. GDP growth, we've had 2 quarters of negative GDP growth. We're technically in a recession, yet in his 60 Minutes interview, the president actually said he was going to continue to grow the economy and that would fix inflation. He's not growing the economy. We've had 2 months of negative GDP growth. So there's nothing that makes any sense coming out of this White House.
Let's play that, actually. We got the president with Scott Pelley on inflation. Take a listen.
It's the highest inflation rate, Mr. President, in 40 years.
I got that. But guess what we are? We're in a position where for the last several months it hasn't spiked.
I mean, essentially the broader argument he's making in that interview, is, of course, the economy is in arrears. Of course, there's inflation. We just came out of this global pandemic.
Yeah, he even said the other day, I think, when he was celebrating his Inflation Reduction Act, which is anything but, it's actually the opposite. They were celebrating that, and he said prices are stable. I'm sorry, if there's an 8.3% increase from the previous August, that's not a stable price. Stable price would be zero inflation, right? But they can't even figure out how to calculate inflation, or the president doesn't get it, or it's disinformation. But 8.3% inflation over last August, and that was August 21. August 21, it was 5% over August 20. So, no, I'm sorry, Mr. President, prices aren't stable, the economy is not growing, and people's wages are falling. And you can't have it both ways.
Inflation, though, seems to be stable. Maybe that's what he meant to say. Sir, thanks so much for staying up late with us.
I think that's what he meant, but